Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about there is pain, but not suffering. And thought I would talk about this topic, delving into what had recently happened here. Well, going back to the start of it was I had a couple of fillings in a tooth that actually cracked and kind of broke loose. It shattered the edge of the tooth. And so I needed a crown. So last April, they put a crown in. Seemed to work fine. But last Wednesday, woke up and it was hurting. And I thought maybe I had bit on it wrong, or maybe the bite guard because I grind my teeth. Maybe the night bite guard I caught I caught an edge or something and just kept crunching on it or something. I don't know. But I thought because I've had bite guard issues in the past, so I didn't wear the bite guard and I was taking it really easy on that tooth. But Thursday morning, I woke up and it was much, much worse. So I called the dentist and I said, "Hey, I've got this crown on the back. There's something wrong. It hurts a lot, and I need to see somebody." And they're fully booked all the way to. I had an appointment already set for next Wednesday, the following Wednesday. So I had a week out. And they're like, "We're fully booked until that next Wednesday. We'll try to get you in, but worst case scenario, you'll have to wait till Wednesday. But keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see what we can do." Now, if I was resisting or denying the pain or trying to escape the pain, this kind of answer could send some people through the roof. They're like, "Well, how could you say I got to put up with this for a week?" You know, or whatever. Just rail against the situation. How could this be? This is not right. And that would have been suffering. That would have been a discontentment. And that is not what happened. I mean, for me, it was just a matter of accepting what was happening as it was happening. And so it was go take a Tylenol or some other over-the-counter painkiller and wait it out. That's what you got to do. There's nothing you can do about it. And so as there was nothing I can do, all I could do is just allow the pain to be as it was for as long as it was. And sometimes it mellowed out and sometimes it spiked and got far worse. It was kind of a roller coaster of pain. sometimes worse, sometimes better, going up and down on the scale. Now, by that evening, the pain was so severe I couldn't sleep. The painkillers, over the counter painkillers, weren't helping, and I didn't sleep a wink. So the entire night passed, and the next morning, I called the dentist again and I said, "Hey, I really need to get in. I didn't sleep a wink. Uh, the pain is really severe. It's an emergency." And so they said, "Well, let's see what we can do." And again, they were trying to juggle things around. They ended up calling me a little bit later and said, "Well, we could get you in at like 3:30 for a little bit." And so I got in. The doctor took X-rays, looked at the X-rays, and goes, "Yep, it's infected, pretty bad, and there's something wrong. The there's with the roots basically. You need a root canal. That's what it came down to." And so I go back to the desk, and they said, "Hey, we're going to refer you to a root canal specialist, because we don't do these kinds at this moment." And so, and they actually had a couple different places, but the only one took our insurance, you know, very well. And so they called that office, And unfortunately, that office had closed a little early on Friday and so they said, hey, the office is closed, and so you're going to have to wait it out until Monday morning. They said Monday morning, call them, say, hey, you've been examined, you had X-rays, it's infected, you need a root canal, it's pretty bad, you need a root canal ASAP. But until then, they said we're going to give you a prescription for antibiotics, keep taking the over-counter painkillers, and just wait it out. Now again, if someone was having a problem with pain and trying everything they could to escape it, get out of it, or otherwise, it cannot be this way any longer kind of sentiment. Being told that, hey, the root canal specialist left the office early on Friday and you're now going to have to wait till Monday would send them through the roof. They'd go, no, I need a solution now, and just rail and resist. And that's what happens with a lot of our compulsive thought. This resisting, denying, trying to escape. The situation can't or must not continue. And for me, that did not arise. At no point was there the thought, this cannot continue. It's like, well, no, it's going to continue. It's going to continue for at least a couple more days because I got to wait till Monday. You just have to accept this. It's reality. If I could think of another solution, actually, I did try my old dentist, and they said, we're also fully booked and can't get you in. And so apparently, dentists don't leave a lot of openings for emergencies that may happen. So a couple different dentists, couldn't see me quicker. Got to wait till Monday for the referred specialist. But basically, my options were done. What I could do was done. And so I just allowed what was to be as it was, which was significant pain, very inflamed, puffed out gum around that tooth. And so I just took the antibiotics I was prescribed, took the over-counter painkillers to try to take the edge off. And thankfully, once the antibiotics started kicking in, the pain receded a bit, and so I was able to sleep through the weekend, unlike Thursday and most of Friday. So by Saturday, Sunday, I was sleeping somewhat, and then Monday morning, I had called them and said, "Hey, this is the situation." And they're like, "Well, we can get you in at 3 o'clock." So I go in at 3 o'clock on Monday, and they said, well, if it was much more inflamed, they wouldn't be able to work on it. And that tooth originally was much more inflamed, so he basically was, I could tell that if I came in earlier, they wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway, because they would have had to wait for the antibiotics to take effect and actually start reducing the inflammation before they were able to work on it. So on Monday, he's like, well, it's not overly inflamed. We're able to work on it. And so they did the root canal. Now, it's my first root canal I've ever had. And I've heard of people having root canals off and on throughout my life. And everybody tells me how horribly painful they are. And I must say that the pain of a root canal wasn't nearly as bad as the pain of an infected tooth without any antibiotics, like on that Thursday night. That Thursday night where I had absolutely no sleep, I was in far more pain then than during the root canal. The root canal wasn't that bad. And so they had the root canal. They did their job. They sealed it up good, and it's healed up, quite a bit better since then. Now there's still some damage, and they're like, well, hopefully it heals. If it doesn't heal, I may lose the tooth. But they go, hey, if the gums and everything, come back and heal, you should be good at this point. So we'll see how it goes. But in this lived experience, in this situation that happened in my life, was something that was extremely painful. And it was a constant pain. I mean, yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster. Sometimes it was much more painful, and then it would go to a dull throb, you know, for a little while, and then it would gradually grow back into a crescendo of shooting pain. And it was a constant ride of pain. There was at no point was there no pain on that Thursday night and Friday and such. And so that was living in constant pain. But there wasn't a resistance to it. There wasn't a denying, resisting, trying to escape it. I did what I could. And so at that point, I just had to allow it to be for as long as it was until the time came where the next thing I could do, arose. And that would be calling in, Monday morning for a root canal. And so you just kind of had to wait it out. But if there was any kind of resistance, denying, trying to escape, any thought or sentiment that this should not be, I should not be in this kind of pain, I should not have a bad tooth, the dentist should not have to delay me this long, any denial or resistance to what was as it was would have created imagined additional hurt. Basically, it would have been agonizing. It wouldn't have been simply painful. It would have been agonizing. And it wouldn't have been simply painful. It would have been miserable. There would have been misery piled upon what was going on. The pain alone was enough. But I didn't make it worse by creating a bunch of story, mental story, any judgments, critiques. I mean, yeah, there was pain, but I was still content and happy with life. Because I understood that this pain was arising because there was a serious issue going on. Something was wrong with the tooth. Infection got in. Actually, as the root canal specialist explained to me, he goes, the crown, in some way took out the blood flow to the tooth, and so the infection got inside the tooth, and there wasn't enough blood going into the tooth with the antibiotics to take out the infection inside the tooth. So he goes, really, the purpose of the root canal is to grind out and cut out the material that's infected and then seal it off. And so they removed the infection from inside the tooth and then sealed it off. And so this pain was arising to alert you, hey, you've got an infection that the body can't deal with inside the tooth. Something must be done. Now, we're in the modern era, and so there's root canals and there's procedures to deal with it. But, if it was much earlier in history where there wasn't modern dental care, that would be probably the signal, hey, you need to have a tooth removed. You need to just have it yanked, because if you don't, it could fester and kill you. And so this pain was to say, hey, you need to get rid of this tooth or do something about it now. And so it was a natural thing, alert that the body does to go, hey, there's something wrong here. You need to deal with it. And so instead of resisting and denying that signal, saying it should not arise, instead it was embraced. fully accepted. Yes, this pain is arising because there's a serious issue, and it's going to be looked at and taken care of on Monday, hopefully, when I call for the root canal specialist. And so it's this lack of story and this lack of resisting, denying, escaping. It's this lack of sentiment that this should not be, that it should be quicker, more quickly resolved, or in some other way. This what is should not be as it is. It should be other than it is. That sentiment did not arise. And because that sentiment did not arise, and I was perfectly happy with what is, I'm like, hey, this is what is. Something's wrong with the tooth. It hurts. I have to wait till Monday. There's no way to, I mean, I guess you can just keep dialing uh, um, root canal specialists. I could have even maybe even called and gone into a emergency root canal clinic and had one done. But they wouldn't have taken my insurance. And so I would have had to pay many times more than I did. And so I chose to stick it out for the referral that would take our insurance. So it didn't cost that much. And so there was an element of choice in there, in that if I wanted to get rid of it quicker, there were options. But I chose not to take those options. And so I can't really have a problem with the situation because, if money was no object, I probably could have had the tooth fixed that Thursday or Friday, and I wouldn't have had to wait till Monday. But who knows what that would have cost me going to an emergency dental clinic and having a emergency root canal at a place that doesn't take my insurance. Shudder to think how much that would cost. But so I'm like, yes, I'm choosing to take this slightly slower route. They can't see me until this date, so I have to wait. So just let what is be as it is until that date. And that's how, as I'm relaying here, I was in pain, in great pain, but there was no suffering. I was not making a big deal of it. I was not having a problem with pain. I was not saying it should not be. And because there wasn't this resistance, with life in general, there's still a contentment and even happiness. I mean, just in the evenings, just kind of hanging out with my wife as she was trying to. It was kind of sweet where she was trying to figure out what foods I'd be able to eat. And so she made me macaroni and cheese one night, something that was fairly soft. And there is still joy, there's still happiness, there's ever-present contentment, even in pain. And that can be the case because I don't have a problem with being in pain. The pain was there. I was like, okay, that's okay. It's okay for the pain to be there. There's nothing I can do about it unless I'm willing to pay a lot for it. And so my current next step is wait till Monday. And so I just have to let this be until Monday. And then, like I said, as the story turned out, the root canal specialist said if it was really inflamed, he wouldn't be able to work on it anyway. And that was the case of how it was on Saturday. It was so inflamed. It was my face was kind of bulging out. I mean, it was super inflamed on Saturday. And so they wouldn't have been able to work on it at that time anyway. They would have had to wait for the antibiotics to take effect. So, instead of resisting, denying, saying it shouldn't be, it should be otherwise, trying to escape the situation, instead of doing all that, which just causes agony and misery Instead of all that discontentment with what is, you just allow it to be. And that, in my case, I was just allowing this pain to be, knowing that what I can do next is wait till this next point, and then I can do something. Until then, I can't do anything, and so I just got to wait it out. And so I'm hoping this real life example of, hey, this is what it's like when you find that suffering falls away. There can be pain. There can be great pain. But suffering itself doesn't really arise because it's missing all the components of this should not be, trying to escape it, resisting, denying it, things like that. So you don't create this misery, this agony over what is. Instead, you just allow what is to be as it is. And in that, there's still contentment and happiness and things like that. And so, if you got any questions, comments, please post below. But until next time, thank you much.